Hi, Katelyn. How are you? Welcome to Marketing Happy Hour.
Hi, friends. I'm so excited to be here with you, ladies.
Yes, so excited for you to be here as well. You are not that far from us, so it's cool to be connecting virtually, but we'll have to get together in person at some point soon.
Yes, for anyone listening, we typically, as a podcaster, no one is even nearly remotely close to where I live because I
Mm.
live in like the rural part of America with cows. So I was stalking the girls before I got on and I was like, oh my gosh, they're only an hour away from me. So we will do an in-person
We
visit.
will.
Yes.
We will. An
Yes.
in-person happy hour, which speaking of, we have to know what's in your glass either right now or what do you just enjoy sipping on all throughout the day, really?
So I need to do better at just drinking water, but I can't. So I do water with a mix of this bai, which is supposed to be like less calories for sugar. Don't know if that's true, but Sydney Sweeney, that's her name, right? The
Yes.
actress.
Yeah.
She just
Yeah.
made a new flavor and I want y'all to try it. It's like raspberry lemonade and it's really good. If you just do like mostly
Ooh.
water and just put a little bit in there, you can still like get hydrated through the day.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I saw you had your Stanley with you, as
You
do
know,
I.
I'm a
So
basic
yeah.
girl.
Gotta stay hydrated.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, Caitlin, we're so excited to have you today, as Cassie mentioned, but I kind of want to give our listeners just a little peek into who you are, what you do. So if you have like just a one sentence little elevator pitch before we dive into the questions here, would love for you to share.
Of course. So I am the owner of Influence Marketing Studio, which is a social media agency. We manage businesses' social media accounts. And then I recently started a podcast called Call Her Creator, which basically helps people make money doing what they love. And then the last part of that, there's three parts. I also do full-time content creation on Instagram. I guess I'm an influencer, but I just say I'm a creator.
Yeah, very, very cool. Well, we're going to talk about that just a little bit right here. You have built an impressive following on Instagram with around 168,000 followers, which is amazing. Could you share kind of the key strategies that you use to achieve that growth, particularly through the power of Reels?
Yes. So first off, um thank you for acknowledging my following because it's one of those jobs that is very unappreciative of how much freaking work it takes to build that.
Yeah.
And people are just going viral one time and they're building millions of followers and it's hard on us little people over here. But I would say like the key strategy for me was honestly just being consistent and as easy as a tip that sounds, it's probably the hardest thing for people to maintain consistency. And I posted a lot. So in the beginnings, I was posting like 3 reels a week. That was back in like 2021. But now for me to keep my consistent growth going, I have to post at least 5 times a week reels. And so I'm putting a video out every day. Now, one more piece of that too is I calculated how much I post a week and it's 14 times a week.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work that goes into that. And, planning out your reels and what the strategy is there. And that's just such a big undertaking. And you've had over 15 years of experience just in the social world in general. What do you think are the biggest changes that you've seen in the social media landscape over those 15 years? And how have you kind of adapted your strategies over the years? Clearly, you're diving more into that video content. You're really focused on reels, but what are some other things that have changed and what are you now focused on?
You know what I think the biggest change has been? Like, people used to really love, like, packaged, perfect, polished content, and I feel like nowadays it's so easy to just document your day to day with your phone. We all have iPhones or Androids, at our fingertips, and, like, it's just so much easier to create content these days if you really just put in the effort. So that's probably been the biggest change since the beginning times. I started back with MySpace, y'all, so
Yes.
things are different. I miss MySpace because I feel like it was a little bit
Same.
personalized.
Yeah, and you could do a profile song. That was like my favorite part of
Oh my
MySpace.
god, I would change my profile song like I would change my underwear based on my mood, teenage girl. But also, like, do y'all remember those quizzes that you could take and
Oh
post
my
on the
gosh.
bulletin board? And like you could be
Yes.
Like, I remember doing those and thinking like, "Oh,
Yeah.
so and so reads this, sees what I'm
Yeah.
doing."
Yes, absolutely. Everybody probably listening remembers those.
Yes. But now we have stories instead of, those little subtle quizzes to take.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got to hear kind of your top tips for creating engaging and impactful video content. And also, 14 posts a week is a lot. It's a decent amount. So, also on top of that, like, what's your content planning process like? Do you kind of batch once a week? Do you kind of go on the fly? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so for you guys listening, I never ever want to make you feel bad. I'll be completely honest with you. So we have a team here. So there's three of us, and Darby, who's like my right-hand girl, she actually does half of those posts for me. So we batch create 7 of those posts. She will create reels, a mix of carousel. Actually, we just started kind of getting away from carousels because reels are performing better for us as
Mhm.
far as growth wise. So she'll batch create a bunch of reels, put it in a Google document for me to go through, tweak, edit, approve. And then the other 7 I post day of just because I love doing it. Now for reels that work really well, I've seen short and sweet reels work the best. Trending audio, unfortunately, like as much as we all love to hate it, it's what gets the most views right now. So jumping on those trends early. If you are new to Reels and you don't know what that means, or TikTok even, if you click on the audio, you can actually see how many people have already jumped on that trend. And if it's super oversaturated, keep looking for another trend that's maybe early. And then just being really clear with your messaging and letting people know what to do next. That will help your engagement because they'll know, like, oh, share this to a friend or comment this word or whatever it is next.
Yeah. How important for you is like engaging too? So after content goes out, how are you kind of in the comments, in your DMs, making sure that your community and your followers, that relationship is being fostered with them?
Absolutely. So I'm now growing my podcast Instagram account and my social marketing queen. And I've seen a direct correlation with my growth on social marketing queen because I'm in there genuinely engaging myself versus call her creator. We just kind of schedule content over there and I get to it when I can. So there's a huge factor. I genuinely think that engagement is a key part to growth success. And that's where a lot of people drop the ball is not engaging, replying to stories, commenting on people's posts, going to the explore page and commenting on other things. It's a big part of your growth strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious too to hear just from your side, what are some like hooks or anything in the beginning that can capture the audience's attention? Because I know there's a lot of people out there who provide advice around things like that. Like make
Mm.
sure you start with like what is it, clickbaity like
Mhm.
intro or whatever. But is there anything tried and true that really does capture attention and can really reel people in?
That's a really great question. So I actually like to lean in on negative hooks. There's some research psychologically, us humans, we tend to focus on the negative before we focus on the positive. So I'll try to do like, don't do this on your next reel, or
Yeah.
3 mistakes you're making that's causing this, and those reels always tend to perform better than, like, those positives, like, "Here's how you can make blah, blah, blah doing blah, blah, blah." So, negative hooks are a good one. If you don't know what that is, Google it, ask ChatGPT to give you some examples that are specific to your niche, and you'll reap the benefits.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me too of if you're familiar with story brand method, it's playing
Mhm.
into what are some of the downsides if someone doesn't take action on whatever this thing is, this is what could happen and result. And that is proven to work on that way. And we see a lot of that in story brand is kind of based off of these fundamentals of Hollywood and the way films are created and the way story progresses and kind of builds. And so that reminds me very much of that. So I don't know if you were inspired at all by that principle there.
Yes, I've heard of that principle, but I didn't even realize, like, you're right, that directly ties into what I am doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's so interesting. I always love hearing from like people who have found success with reels and like what the little tricks are. So I appreciate you sharing that. Um, People listening to the podcast probably don't know, but my day to day is in influencer marketing. I work for an influencer marketing agency. And so I wanted to ask you about when brands collaborate with influencers for video content.
Mhm.
What are some of the best practices to ensure that the content is aligning with the brand's values and messaging?
For sure, that's a great question. I think clearly communicating is a huge deal when it comes to influencer marketing. Just giving that brand brief is so much easier. Like I play both sides because of my social media agency and then as the content creator. But as the content creator, if you want me to showcase something for your brand, you need to tell me exactly what you want. You need to make sure you're telling me the do's and don'ts to stay away from. There's been some brands that I've worked with that are like, "Oh, you have creative freedom to do whatever you want," and then I'll send it over and they completely hate it. So I think as long as you're being clear and communicating with each other, and then also just choosing the right brands and creators to work with, you do wanna make sure that your personal values are aligned because I've had really weird brands reach out to me, like, and offer a substantial amount of money, but if I were to do that, it would highly, highly go against my brand. There's, like, toys.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah,
Yes.
so I'm just like, I can't do that or my credibility just goes completely out the window. So I think it's very important to be picky, choosy who you work with.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I think one of the things too to kind of piggyback off of that, and I've experienced this semi recently, working with brands through an agency, is even from the agency side, especially if you are on that side or even on the brand side, providing all of those details to your point up front and anticipating all the things you would and wouldn't want included in the content. Because same thing, even if the brief is thorough, I've had times where provided a piece of content and then they realize, oh, actually, we don't want XYZ included, or we would prefer if you said this instead. And it saves a lot of time and stress back and forth, just anticipating all those different areas and having all of that information up front. So that's such a good reminder because that
Yeah.
can be frustrating for both sides.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I want to know too, just piggybacking off of that, how important is creative freedom for influencers when creating video content for brands? So, thinking about from the brand side, from the agency side, when they are contracting creators, how important is it to just kind of allow them to put their own spin on that piece of content versus really confining them to a very, very strict brief?
Yeah, so there's 2 sides to that. Like, one, you obviously like, creative freedom is so important, and you want that you're hiring them for a reason, right? You're hiring this creator because they know social media and they know how to engage their audience. So you have to kind of trust a little bit of that process. But then the other side, you want to also make sure that it feels genuine to them, it resonates with their audience. So the fact of the matter, like, there's just 2 sides to it. I like I like it better when a brand gives me the creative freedom because I know what call to actions work. I know what DM automation keywords are gonna work. I know how many seconds in my reel, like, even as far as telling people, like, "Hey, I need a minute reel," and I'll try to argue with them, like, "Hey, minute reels aren't working anymore. You need to go a little bit shorter." As a creator, I want that brand to trust me that I know what I'm doing. That's why you're hiring me to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and you mentioned keywords. So, kind of going back to fundamentals to posting video. And I know these things change all the time, right? We see updates from Adam Masseria Instagram like almost every other day, just with a new algorithm update. But right now, what are you seeing in terms of caption development? That's super important. Are hashtags still a thing? Should we be incorporating keywords at the bottom? Like, what are you seeing with that specifically as well?
So I don't think that there needs to be a particular spot for you to put the keywords like at the bottom. I know for a little bit I was seeing even other social media agencies writing their caption and then they would put like a list of 8 keywords underneath at the bottom. I think at this point in age, you don't have to do that. Just make sure you're writing a caption that genuinely includes those words in your caption, to talk about the post. Um, and hashtags are still important for me. You can actually go to a post on your profile and view the insights on it, and it will tell you how many people found that post through a hashtag. So I know right then and there that hashtags still work. Do I think you need to use all 30 that Instagram allows you to use? No, not necessarily. But I think using like 3 to 5 that really go with your content, that's what I've been leaning into for the past couple months actually. And they're performing pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love that you mentioned there's just people out there just trying all of the things and seeing
All the
what
things.
sticks. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And I
it's
can't knock
wild out
them
there.
because yeah, we can't knock these people because I mean, they're trying and I've tried it too, but then I just was
Right.
like, "You know what? I'm not seeing a difference with me adding these keywords versus me just using them naturally in the caption."
Yeah, yeah, and there's no shame in trying all of the new things, especially when it is so confusing out there, like what is actually gonna work, but yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that, and I appreciate you sharing the insight too, just like for brands listening, working with creators, I think it is really important to understand, like you said, you did hire a creator for a reason, and their audience trusts them and is loyal to them for a reason, and so if you wanna reach their audience, you should definitely trust them to create the content. Obviously, there are some things that you wanna be sure that, the creator speaks to, or, like, there's certain call outs that you want them to share, but everything else should really be natural and just be worked in a really, like, I don't know, authentic. I that word is such a buzzword these days, but just like
I
an
know.
authentic, natural way. And so
Natural.
I think that's great advice. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
Um, would love to hear from you too. We ask this on the show all the time. We love hearing all of the answers to this question. What do you know now that you wish you knew earlier on in your career?
Mm. Oh gosh, that's hard. Um, I think just knowing that everything works out the way it's supposed to and everything's gonna be okay. I was physically sick when I left my job and started my own agency. I was physically sick for a couple weeks, maybe a month or two, just because of the unknown. But I think if you can just persevere and keep going and just know that things work out for the better, like I guess have some trust in yourself. That's probably my biggest piece of advice because it is so rewarding to actually become your own boss and do your own thing. Is there things that I miss about the 9 to 5? Absolutely. My benefits were amazing. But there's also that side where now I can work so freaking hard and see like a direct correlation with my success versus back in my 9 to 5, I might not have seen that because you get paid this steady income. So there's like wins and losses of being an entrepreneur, but I think it's worth it, and I think if you can just stick with it and go through the trials and errors, you'll come out a better person.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I think too, we talk about this all the time that it's like obviously continue to stick through the challenges because challenges will occur working for yourself and they will occur often. And it is hard, but to your point, it's very rewarding. But at the same time, nothing in career anymore is permanent. We live in such a different time to where our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents, they stayed in the same jobs for 40 plus years. And now we have so many opportunities at our fingertips, especially in this field in marketing and social media. And so side hustling is always an option. Going back to corporate if needed and leaving again is always an option. So just kind of to your point, continue on that path, make decisions that are best for you and things will end up working out regardless. So such good
Amen.
advice.
Yes,
Yes.
amen to that.
Well, Caitlin, this has been wonderful. We've been wanting to do like a video marketing, influencer marketing 101 tutorial slash mini class here. So thank you for sharing your insights with us. But would love to stay in touch with you. So where's the best place to learn more about your podcast, your pages personally, all the things online?
Yes. So if I show up the most on Instagram at social marketing queen. I also have a website, influence with an E, studio.com. Both of those channels, promote Call Her Creator podcast. Feel free to go over there too if you want to learn how to make money doing things that you love. But I'm so grateful that you guys had me today.
Yes, we're so stoked and definitely go check out her podcast. We'll be joining her for an episode here very soon. But Caitlin, thanks again so much for joining us today.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Marketing Happy Hour podcast.
If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you want more of Marketing Happy Hour but don't know where to start, we invite you to download our free Marketing Happy Hour starter kit at marketinghappyhr.com/starter-kit. This interactive magazine-style PDF walks through who we are, includes helpful resources like a marketing term glossary and the printable daily planner sheet that we actually use ourselves, and contains clickable links to our episode recommendations by subject area. Not to mention all the fun extras like a quiz, the link to our Marketing Happy Hour Insiders Facebook group, a word search, a playlist, a goal-setting guide, content inspo by month, and more. It's our hope that you'll dive into this resource and walk away more confident in your career journey with a group of industry pals that you can lean on for advice and support. Snag your free starter kit today at marketinghappyhr.com/starter-kit for all of the info you need to become a Marketing Happy Hour insider.